I was talking a short while ago about Liz Truss and ridiculing her association with Kwasi Kwarteng, and somebody has rather waggishly pointed out that one of the points that I've missed out is Liz Truss's efforts to control her hand gestures. And I was informed back in the day when Liz Truss was a thing that she was, like Mrs. Thatcher, taking lessons in taking sort of basic elementary acting lessons, and this involved her doing some sort of hand gesture development. What I thought probably she would probably have called hand jobs. But the problem was, despite all the efforts that she must have been putting in, despite all the hand jobs she was practicing in the morning and the evening to try and get her gestures to look normal, it never worked. And now, finally, did you notice today when she was appearing with Nigel Farage, she's found a solution. And it's almost the same solution that Putin has discovered. That's basically to keep her hands completely still and anchored to the desk. So if you can't control your hands, use an anchor. So anchor the hands rather than wave them around. In Truss's case, I think they were her real hands. I think at some point they were under the desk. But in Putin's case, I think they are an artificial, I was going to say an artificial insemination. They're an AI dupe, because Putin is, of course, in a Smeg fridge. In fact, very similar to the Smeg fridge behind me. And but I really did want to talk about Liz Truss, not just her hand job exercises, but her inappropriate efforts in the last days of the Boris premiership, when she had a proposal, because today will probably be the day when people will be told if they've been successful in their Oxford efforts, and in about a week's time people will be told whether or not they've been successful in Cambridge. And Liz Truss had a proposal to guarantee Oxbridge interviews to all students achieving 3A stars at A level. And it sparked some debate at the time, not least because it was ambitious, if somewhat myopic, and an absurd approach to higher education reform. Higher education, like all education in Britain, badly needs reform, but this isn't the way forward. And her plan was an attempt to address the age-old challenge of access to elite universities, but the execution reveals significant flaws, primarily its detachment from the nuanced realities of the admissions procedure, and a sort of an idea that bringing everything levelling down rather than levelling up. What is so wonderful about the last few years is that it's been possible to see major universities raising their game to compete with Oxford and Cambridge, to the extent that some universities like Warwick are an amazing institution, the LSE. And if you can get to Warwick or the LSE, you're probably doing better than you would have done 20 years ago to have got to Oxford or Cambridge for particular subjects. And I still think there's something wonderful about Oxford and Cambridge. I was at Oxford myself, so there is bias. But my recent trips to Cambridge and teaching in Cambridge for a short period a few years ago, I realised Cambridge presents now what Oxford used to present when I was when I was first an undergraduate. And the grass is green. I walked up the High when I was doing my interviews, and I thought, yes, I could belong here. And I still recommend my students, if they want to go to Oxford or Cambridge, go get a train, go up there, find a little cafe, sit there for the afternoon and try and imagine, could you live here? Because that's what you have to do for 3 years. Oxford and Cambridge remain global icons of academic excellence. Not just particular subject excellence, but the aura of great minds, and we little students are sort of picking up the dregs that fall from the tables And these universities aren't measured by how many undergraduates they take. They're really measured by the research which is done. And their enduring reputation stems from their combination of rigorous intellectual tradition, ongoing, the stunning architectural heritage, the concentrated academic communities, the concentrated term time. And these institutions still attract some of the brightest minds worldwide, fostering a competitive yet collaborative atmosphere that profoundly shapes undergraduate experience. And you might say, how did some of these people actually get there as undergraduates? People like Liz Truss. Because the universities focus on potential, not achievement. And that is something that I think should always be the case. So although people might achieve 3 A-star results in A-level, it's what you could achieve. And the A-level requirements are not quite the same as university requirements. So somebody, in the past particularly, there was a clear understanding that great minds sometimes go wrong in school time. They don't respond well to the dynamics of a school. And there's something different in a university which is more liberating. And we need to be able to appreciate that difference and bring people in at different ages into the system, rather than seeing everything as one continual sausage that comes out of a factory. It isn't. It's a series of little sausages, each wrapped in its own little package with little gaps between them, and it's the little gaps which make it so, which fortify it, which make it so effective. It's those little gaps. It's those holes in the stream, which if you imagine this as sort of an axon chain coming out of a neuron, the myelin sheath is split up into little sausage shapes, and the nodes of Ranvier, these holes, are the thing that really energizes the electrical charge that buzzes from one neuron to another and takes ideas with it. It's those holes. The hole between GCSE and A-level, the hole between A-level and undergraduate, the hole between undergraduate and postgraduate research. And this mystique, it extends beyond what is formally academic research. It covers the entire place. There's a fellow in The Spectator the other day talked about his first days in Magdalen College, reading a bog sheet, humorously reminding him that being at Oxford is as close as living in a country house as most people ever get. He was at Magdalen, I was at a place called St Benet's. The tightly knit, purpose-built environment allows for lifelong connections and formative experiences unmatched by most other universities, and the exclusivity and the cultural capital that it confers are integral to their appeal. Truss's proposal, her policy, while ostensibly aimed at democratizing access, leans heavily on a metric, on 3 A's, that disproportionately favors students from selective schools and from schools that can enrich those A-level choices. There's no reason why people should stop at 3. Academic attainment stripped of context ignores the inequalities of the system that shape educational outcomes. A student achieving 3 B's in a disadvantaged school or disadvantaged environment may demonstrate far greater potential than one achieving 3 A's in a resource-rich environment. Let's say a grammar school, or a crammer, or a really good college, and 3 A's in three subjects perhaps that are not that stimulating compared to a maths and further maths. Come on, there's a difference, and the logistical challenges in trying to pursue her nonsense would be equally stark. With approximately 9,000 eligible students annually, Oxbridge would face an untenable surge in interview requirements. And this would strain that already limited resource, potentially consuming tutors' abilities to assess candidates from diverse backgrounds holistically for months, not just a few weeks. Moreover, such a policy risks entrenching the elitism it seeks to dismantle by reinforcing the perception of Oxbridge as the ultimate arbiter of talent and success. And it's not. There are many universities around the country where a particular subject is significantly better taught and pursued than at Oxford or Cambridge. The solution lies not in simplistic benchmarks, but in contextual admissions, a system already employed by Oxbridge to some extent. By evaluating students' achievements relative to their circumstances, universities are well placed to identify candidates with exceptional potential who might otherwise be overlooked. And it's this idea which lay dormant for so many years in the 1990s and early part of this century. The idea of reviving the concept of potential, of giving students places on their potential rather than their achievement. This approach aligns with the broader goal of social mobility without undermining institutional autonomy or academic rigour. And while Oxbridge offers unparalleled opportunities, it's essential to recognise the diverse landscape of higher education in the UK. Universities such as Durham, Manchester excel in specific disciplines, often surpassing Oxbridge in specialised area. Truss's proposal, when it was delivered, 4 or 5 years ago, risked undervaluing these institutions and their contributions to academic and professional excellence. And the problem is this limp proposal that she made is still being floated around in the bowels of Westminster. Perhaps the most contentious aspect of this policy is its encroachment on institutional autonomy, and Oxbridge's admissions processes, honed over centuries, are not easily altered without significant consequences. And there were alterations made in the last 20 years which seriously damaged the Oxbridge methodology. It's now beginning to recover. Interference risks undermining the very qualities that make these universities exceptional. And as with any great institution, their success relies on the freedom to adapt and to innovate independently. So while Truss's aspirations to broaden access was commendable, her policy lacked the precision and the inclusivity necessary for meaningful change. Too much hand-flapping and not enough thought. Instead of imposing arbitrary thresholds, effort should focus on levelling the playing field at earlier educational stages, improving access to quality teaching, expanding support for underrepresented groups, finding ways to bring people into these higher places of learning at different stages. Not everybody has to enter a school at the age of 9 or the age of 7. They can do it at the age of 13 or 15 or 16. And similarly with universities, we need to divorce education from age, just as we divorce education from gender. And we need to empower students rather than continually give the power to teachers and tutors to make these decisions. Students should be able, with better AI access, with better integration of Zoom and the internet, we should be able to offer a much greater range of subject choice at school and at university to deliver better minds for the future. It's those better minds which will run the country, instead of looking on to Liz Truss in power, flapping her hands around and thinking that's going to be of some sort of efficacious benefit. It's of no help to anyone. And And similarly, it's no help to anyone the one thing that she seems to have learnt in Oxford, which was how to wing her way through a tutorial without having done the reading. In the end, Oxbridge's enduring excellence serves as both a benchmark and a reminder. Truly transformative policies must be as rigorous, as contextual, as inclusive as the institutions they seek to reform. Reform is necessary, but it needs to be done, I think, from within rather than from outside, and it needs to be done with a thought about the academic excellence that these institutions represent, rather than seeing university as some sort of social engineering machine, some sort of train that can be rerouted in a slightly different direction.